Bum, 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 bum. Bum, bum, bum. Bum, bum, bum.
Hey everybody, it's
It's
Mumamo.
live from the Green Ronin Studios.
That's right, here at the heart of the mothership. Hey, look, it is a whole bunch of people hanging out in chat. Let's see, William Lang's here. Hey, buddy.
William Lang has been here for like hours, apparently.
William Lang has been here since 9:33 a.m. my time.
That was like 3 hours ago.
Right?
That's right. Rebel Moose is here. Hornetico, good to see you. Am I saying that right? Hornetico, do
Welcome
correct
back.
me. Yeah, welcome back. Robert Kemp, of course, RC is here. Good to see you. Greetings and salutations to you. Some good soup says, ah. To you, I say, ah. Rebel Moose, Claude says, hello. And then Mastermind of Pook, greetings, super fam. Mastermind of Pook, unto you I say, a good mumamo. Sean Dugan, of course, good to see you, friend, says, ran a Pharaoh Bird campaign last night. Went well, other than my players sidetracking one combat opportunity after another and doing diplomacy in their own weird way.
Well, that's part of the course of Pharaohberg, right?
Right?
One would
And,
expect, no less.
Tabletop RPGs.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I just realized something.
What?
Look at this. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Good
We're
to
live.
see you. We are live. And, I'm looking at, I have some, unfortunate news. Our program was not necessarily picked for the ENnies consideration. That's the way it goes. But I'll tell you what.
These things are so political.
Really are. They really are. They just, they wanted more than I had to offer. But I will say, you both have been nominated for a Troiny. And
we'll take it.
And you've won. You've won, and I don't know exactly what you get, but it'll stick with you for a lifetime. I'll tell you that much.
I'd like to thank the Academy for all the preparation.
Right?
Yes, absolutely.
All the training.
Absolutely. All the training, all the experiences.
Right. It's a golden gravy boat.
It is a golden gravy boat. That is, of course, what you get to put on your wall of trophies, and it comes with a little bit of magic gravy.
Mm-hmm.
That's yeah.
Troy, that is the only gravy boat I would ever accept in my house.
Oh, see how you are. I love it. All right, so it's Mumamo, and you've just won a prestigious award, and now we're talking about building trust in your game group, which is, I think, a phenomenal topic.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Hey, Devious, good to see you, friend. And Sean doing more than gravy. And so let's unpack it. What are we talking about?
Yeah, so we are talking about the great concept that the majority of issues you might encounter in tabletop role-playing games stem to not having effective communication as a group.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea that we are doing an escapist activity together that relies on goodwill and acknowledgement between the players that we're all here with the same goal in mind, all hoping to have a good time. And sort of breaking some of those long-held ideas that maybe the game master is against the players or the players against the game master. It's not really like that.
Mm-hmm.
Both in M&M and in gaming in general these days.
Indeed. I mean, you'll hear a lot about the fact that gaming is a social activity by its nature, and therefore you'll hear a lot about the notion of the social contract. When it comes to that activity, and it's a lot about taking what used to be a lot of unwritten, unspoken assumptions about things and making them more clear. Like Alex says, it's really all about clear communication and being willing to have discussions up front to establish clear understanding and to have clear communication along the way should any problems arise.
I like that. And I think as we're talking about this, friends, as you're thinking of the things that you do, maybe you do a lot of, sometimes this happens because GMs are natural storytellers, they're natural connectors. They kind of do things instinctively. So what are the things that you do for your group around your table or as a participant in a particular, supporting a GM as a player?
Mhm.
What do you do to build that trust? Like, what are some tricks and things that you might bring to your table? I'm interested in hearing that as well. So let's see. Unless you're playing Paranoia, then it's just a free for all. Yeah.
Well, remember, there's a difference between building trust in your game group and building trust among the player characters.
Oh, that's true. Very
Hon
different. Yeah.
honestly, playing Paranoia, it really helps if you have a group of friends who all trust each other and are going to have a good time, in spite of the fact their characters are all trying to label each other traitors and kill each other.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
yeah, it's just building that good faith between everybody. That is, everybody we know is pushing in the same direction. And is nobody's trying to really ruin everybody's life in real life. That's the stuff to avoid.
Right. Indeed.
Yeah, yeah. No. So when we talk about this, the contract, the social contract, what are some things that kind of are a given that one would just presume kind of is incorporated into that whole experience, but maybe unspoken?
Well, I think that the big element of the social contract is honestly just don't be a jerk.
Yes.
Really,
Yeah.
take other people's feelings into consideration and try and do things for the good of the group is just the big upshot of the social contract. Um, the more specific sort of elements of it as it applies to the tabletop world is really about uh, the game itself and what is the most fun for everybody so far as that goes.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
Alex, you've oftentimes
And
talked about like leaning into the fun, right? Like,
yeah, just the basic idea that we're all here to have a good time, and that what we're looking to get out of this is a fun time with your friends. At the end of the day, you're choosing to do this instead of like having a LAN party or going putt-putting or going to play paintball or anything like that. That might be
Right.
something else fun to do as a group. What do we agree are the base terms of when we get together to play this game? What does that mean? Like, where do we play? What time do we play? What are we expected to bring? Sort of the baseline conversation stuff for the real world logistics of getting a group of people together.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
that also
go ahead,
ties
sorry.
into the session zero stuff where, all right, now that we've determined when and what we want to play, what specific game are we trying to do? So what campaign do we want to run? What do we want our characters to be like? What are we hoping to get out of this experience? What's safe? What's
Right.
not safe? All that fun stuff.
One of the really unique elements when it comes to most tabletop RPGs, as opposed to other forms of gaming, is their collaborative nature. There's always room in TTRPGs for improvisation and for creativity. It depends a lot on the game master and the players to really bring the unexpected and the original into it, to make it more than just the mechanics of rolling dice and all of that. When you have a board game, you have very specific rules that define everything the players can do. And often the players are competing, although they may be playing a cooperative board game. But even then, they're playing against the game essentially, and there's a very defined set of rules. In RPGs, the rules are really just the beginning of it, and they just provide the framework for everybody's imagination to really make the game fun and interesting. And it's that collaboration that is both the real magic of tabletop RPGs, but also that area where you need a lot of trust in order to make it work. Just like any kind of improv or performance or any kind of creative collaborative activity.
There's some really great comments I want to bring up real fast. Friendly Neighborhood Chicken says, I confirm with players that I use the same rules for character creation and gameplay as they do. Ideally, meaning if they can do something crazy, I can too, and vice versa. That's great. That's a great sort of setting the tone of things. Some Good Soup says the only way you win tabletop is by making so many bad puns your GM looks physically and psychologically pained.
You see, I'm immune to that damage.
That's right. You got to get a good one in to get you to crack a smile. But hey,
I voluntarily involve Condiment King in my games.
Right.
That's right. That's right. You're already meeting that energy.
Exactly.
Full,
You've already inoculated yourself.
Yeah.
That's right.
Next time somebody plays Condiment King, make sure you call him a saucerer to his face.
A saucer.
Mhm.
That is awesome. The other thing I was going to bring up is, especially with Mutants and Masterminds. Now, speaking very specifically about, it is such a great opportunity to sacrifice and like lean into the failure of your role or the, it absolutely is such a, and I've seen this in play, and Alex and Steve, both of you are very good at catching that moment and kind of letting that person sort of go, I'm going to hold on to the bomb. I'm going to do this really wild, thing. And if I roll poorly, it's like to be able to go, okay, well, tell me how that, what happens to you. And if it's like that spectacular moment, you really catch it. And that I think that's a very skilled GM-ly thing to do.
Some days you just can't get rid of a bomb.
That's true.
That's right. You got to just
Adam West
gotta absorb it.
Right.
That's right. Let's see. If you drink a little poison every day, yeah, that's right. Alex is, yeah. I mean, if you're not introducing Condiment King in your games, what's even the point, says Hornetico? Yeah.
So I wanted to address the notion that our Friendly Neighborhood Chicken brought up, that the game master plays by the same rules as the players, because I actually don't think that's true.
Okay.
I think that it is an interesting. I mean, it's something to talk to your players about, and if that's important to them, then obviously you want to respect that, and that's a parameter for your group to establish, so far as that goes. But to me, given the nature of the game master's role, and the fact that the game master is portraying characters just all over the map, not just characters, but phenomena and just effects and all of those things, and the very fact that we give in Mutants and Masterminds, we give the game masters access to power level X beings and effects and those kinds of things, just means that there are going to be instances where the game master is not, necessary. I mean, they're operating by the same rules in the sense that we're both playing the same game, but the game master is going to have access to game mechanics that the player characters obviously should not have access to. You don't want power level X player characters who can simply do anything as far as that goes. But that is the case for some threats that they're going to come up against.
Yeah, I think the notion of the GM playing in the same sandbox with everybody, I think the better way to think of it, Chicken, is to think about, or some Good Soup. Is that the name? Some Good Soup. Yes. The way to think about it is GM wise, you want to make sure you're playing in the same genre as them, or you're adhering to the same good faith rules as them, rather than the game mechanics themselves, because you have a lot more latitude as the GM to get into a lot of trouble with presenting events or presenting consequences. And you want to make sure when you're presenting things that it is coming from a good faith place and a consistent place. I think as long as you're applying the rules consistently, that's the important thing.
I agree.
Couple of comments here. Hey, guess what? It's Devious's birthday tomorrow.
Oh, happy birthday.
Or today if you're in Australia.
Happy birthday to come.
Yeah, absolutely. That is fantastic. So for you, let's see, what have I got here? How about this? Oh,
that was a sad noise.
That was a sad little horn.
Oh, goodness gracious. What a birthday present for me. Let's see. One of the most, Paul says one of the most important things is letting people know channels of communication are open. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Indeed.
How do you guys handle that? Especially, what if it's something that is privileged or people should know, or you need to do a timeout? How do you manage that so that it doesn't become kind of a thing?
Yeah, you want to have tools at the table to have a timeout button if necessary. I'm a big fan of the X card or the red light, green light, yellow light system, where somebody can trigger it anonymously if they need to, or they don't have to explain why it's a problem. But if they need to have an aside with me, they know, hey, can I talk to you about this over here? I also am a big fan as a GM of asking for feedback at the end of sessions to be like, hey, how do you guys think this is going? Do you want to see more of this, less of this? If you don't want to tell me specifically in front of everybody, you have my email, you have my messaging, just send me a message. And just making sure that none of that behavior is ever punished from GM to player. And understanding yourself, if you're able to take feedback, help in a healthy and constructive manner, or not, in which case maybe work on that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Also I find one of the things that really helps sort of bridge the gap is the presumption of good intent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's important, especially if you're playing with your friends, to give everybody the benefit of the doubt. Assume that they are coming from a place of good faith. If they're not playing the rules correctly, it's not, don't call them out in the middle of what's going on. Just make a note of it and have a discussion about it afterwards. If, maybe they don't know how the rule works, or maybe there is something going on and you can talk to them about that.
Yeah, some good soup says also best to lay everything out in a session 0, especially tone and what they have to do. I had a new player in the M&M server tell a horror story of a GM not mentioning how brutal the game is.
Yes, that's very important.
Yeah. Absolutely. And we've talked about this before, and I just love tooting RC's horn, so to speak. RC, has a process where people, everybody's done this, and there are resources out there, but that pre-survey, the pre-session 0 survey, that just gives people an opportunity to maybe anonymously. It's a small group, so it can be difficult to do that, but if that's what they like, and just have all those things spelled out so that it's very clear that someone doesn't want spiders or whatever,
right, or what have you. Yeah.
And
let's see.
Be willing to accept that and move with it as a GM.
Yeah,
Spiders specifically. I had a game I was running at Origins a few years ago called Arachnophobia, and somebody sat down and said, "I have a crippling fear of spiders, but I want to do this game."
That. So what did you do?
They said, "Can we call them sandwiches whenever they show up instead?" Because I want to confront this fear of mine, but I don't want to hear the word if I can avoid it. And I was like, "Well, I don't know you, but we're in. Let's do it." And we made it work. It was still a good time. The attack of the sandwiches instead of the attack of the spiders.
Claude mentions many players don't like clowns made of spiders, and I would say many people don't like sandwiches made of clowns. So it's just one of those things. Maybe you do. I'm not here to judge. Also, Devious mentioned something I think is really great: praise publicly, counsel privately.
Yes.
Do you ever follow up? It seems to me like there might be an opportunity to, especially for newer players, to follow up with an after action, kind of like an after event, sort of like, hey, was your first time? What did you think?
Yep.
Here's some notes for you. One of the things that I saw in the chat, and I want to make sure that I don't lose it. But sometimes people don't know if they're doing it right.
Yeah.
And they feel
especially new players will often, have a like, what do I do sort of thing, of, what's the appropriate thing here. And I think that there's nothing wrong with, especially in someone's first game or a demo game or something like that, to do a little hand holding and just offer suggestions and say, so something your character could do here would be this. Or something that would be very, especially if they're playing a pre-generated character, something that would be very in character for this character would be to do this, to offer them just a little guidance, a little nudge in the right direction. It's just like, handing somebody a line, when they've lost track, so that they can kind of get going again. And I find that helps, encourage players to just step out a little further out there.
Yeah, I was also going to say too, I think that as somebody who can't often do as much prep just because I'm so busy. There's so many things going on. One of the things that is helpful is as a GM, if you say, "Oh, hey, let's do a roll on this," or we're gonna, test, for this,
Mhm.
and you're gonna find that in this space on the character sheet. Sometimes you're scanning,
Yeah.
I'm scanning and scanning, and people are like, especially if it's a live stream or something. But
Right.
oh, I do. This is very interesting, and I think important to mention. Just put this in your rules. Of course, people don't like sandwiches made of clowns. They taste funny.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of greasy and rubbery.
Yeah.
It's all
Thanks,
the
Raymond.
squeaking I don't like.
Right.
That's
Um,
right.
I also think it's important to know that this takes time. So if you are, if this is a new group,
Mhm.
take it slow. If
Yeah.
if there's content that you want to explore as a GM that might be hard for other people, build trust with them. Make sure that as they're playing your game, they know I'm safe here. No matter what crazy thing happens in game, the GM's not out to get me. The GM's not just trying to jump scare me with something that I never want to see.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Do you guys ever get into explaining why you enjoy GMing so much, or to just so that folks who are playing with you kind of understand what your motivations are? Just to not mistake it for just strictly torturing them, but there's something you get out of this.
I do have a bit of a reputation for being a traumatic GM or whatever. I don't think so, but
Well, you play within the boundaries of the what folks are expecting. It's all in good fun.
yeah, I'm not here to get anybody, but I am here to get the
Mhm.
player characters. Um,
Right.
yeah, conflict drives stories, and sometimes
Yeah.
bad things happen to the protagonists.
Yep.
But I
That is
try to be
true.
fair. I try to, I'm never out to get anybody with the consequences, and I always feel bad when something really bad happens.
Right.
Just don't ask Jonesy if I think that's true.
Paul also mentioned coming back and revisiting the setup periodically, because if you've been playing
Mhm.
for a
Mhm.
while, things can change. Yeah, and you just sort of think about, as your experience is leveling up, that player is sort of now in a whole new space because they get it, some of it, and some of it they don't. And so, yeah, revisiting it, I think, is important. It's an
Mhm.
important
Yeah.
piece of that for sure. Devious
Yeah.
mentions doing roses, thorns, and buds.
Mhm.
Roses, what did you like? Thorns, what did you not like? And buds, what would you like
Mhm.
to see?
Yeah, but more to what Troy was talking about, what I get out of GMing.
Yeah.
I enjoy being able to set the scene and then see how other people react to it. I really like
Yeah.
getting to present a story and then watching everybody else's brains light up as they're working their way through things, and then I've got to figure out what's going to happen after that, and just sort of that back and forth of I may have started the car, but I'm definitely not the person driving.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
Steve, did you want to weigh in on that one?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I like just sort of building the scenes, and especially laying down. Ideally, when I can run longer games, being able to lay down longer term plots is really rewarding because I like to see those develop and eventually sort of come to fruition. Um,
Mm-hmm.
those are really some of for me some of the most rewarding moments for game mastering is to really build something in that the players get to go like, oh wow, like that really paid off, essentially, that was like really built up over a long period of our games, and now there's a big payoff in this moment.
See, that's awesome. And I really do think the GM should spend a little more time saying, this is why I'm doing this,
Hmm.
just so that
Yeah.
people cannot presume what intentions are. I like that. Oh, there's some really great commentary right now. So Paul Ruiz says, we had two friends join a game and eventually kicked out one because every
Hmm.
time the other would speak, they'd shut him down. It took years for us to build up his confidence again.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's exactly
Yeah.
what this
rough.
episode is about, because
Yeah,
That's
indeed.
that's the
yeah.
stuff I hear that it's heartbreaking because
and
Yeah,
and I
it
think
really is.
and I
But
think
Steve,
that goes to a point. I think John or Sean brought up earlier too is that there are going to be occasions where there are people who are not going to fit in your group.
Mhm.
Whether it is somebody who just sits down at your game table at a convention, or it's somebody you're building a game group and you have a new person or a new group going. There are going to be occasions where there are going to just be personality conflicts, Are there going to be people whose just gaming style does not fit with everybody else's? And you have to be, if you can't work out those differences through communication, you have to be honest and be like, hey, at some point, this is not working. And, for the good of everybody else, we need to split, as
Yeah.
far as that goes.
Yeah.
It's an awful and awkward conversation, and I've had to have it myself a few occasions with
Mhm.
people, and just be like, yeah, like, sorry, it just really is not meshing, and it's not fun for everybody, and you just have to do that for the good of everyone
It's
concerned.
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely less worse than letting it ride.
Yeah, yeah, it really is. I mean, and I know that we tend to be very socially conflict averse oftentimes, or at least I tend to be.
Yeah. Same.
Um, and so those conversations can be really difficult, but I think that they're very important to have.
Yeah, yeah. Give him a clown sandwich for the road. John says, yeah, fairness is really crucial. Treat
Mhm.
players with respect and not show favoritism, and that can be hard to do sometimes because sometimes the comfort level you have with one particular player, someone maybe you've had experience playing with,
Yep.
can maybe come across as favoritism.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
And
I had
that's
to I had to curtail that a little bit at Origins this year.
How
Oh
so?
yeah.
My brother joined us for the first time.
Oh,
Um,
Oh
and he and I mean, we've been playing games together since I was 11 and he was 9. So we have that sort of that quiet rapport where we just can
Mhm.
sort of play off of each other. And I noticed as I was running this one shot with a bunch of other strangers, I was giving him a little bit more attention than I probably should have been for the other players, and I had to adjust my behavior on the fly to realize, hey, I keep looking at him and having a like sort of inside joke. I need to quit doing that.
very interesting. What cued
Yeah.
you to think in that way?
I try to be very mindful of everybody's engagement at the table,
Mm-hmm.
especially in person. It's a lot easier in person than it is online.
yeah.
But body language, how often people are checking their phones, just sort of keeping an eye on how engaged everyone is. If people are spinning their dice on the table or they're leaning forward, like leaning back and just sort of
Mhm.
checked out, you really want to sort of do something to bring them back in. And I always try to say I don't like to leave anybody sitting for like more than 3 or 5 minutes
Yeah.
at a time, especially if the party splits up, which is a thing that happens a lot in masterminds.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, Steve.
Well, I was going to say, I agree with that. I think that oftentimes you have to do a lot of juggling with cutscenes and jumping back and forth between sometimes multiple groups of characters, just so that you can keep everybody engaged. Keep all of the various balls in the air that you're juggling, so that none of them drop, and you don't have a player who hasn't had a chance to say or do anything for
Yeah.
going on. Now it's like 5, 10, going on however many minutes, and they are, like Alex says, starting to check out.
Yeah, I've been in a game before where I didn't get interacted with for like an hour, and I was like, "Well,
Yeah, and that's
I don't
just no
even know
fun.
why I drove here today."
Right.
Oh, that's a long time. The other thing I
Yeah.
was going to say as well is that it is a really important part of this building trust aspect is players should take have some agency and should
Mhm.
say, if something is kind of run off the rails, but also to know that they're committing to that yes and moment.
Yep.
And that they're going to like if you feel like you are hogging the microphone, you're probably a couple beats late to realize that. And so to facilitate that, I think that it also just makes the GM's job a lot easier.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's see real fast. Some good soup says an ex-friend told me that some people just don't vibe. You can see I follow that
Yeah.
advice. The ex-friend, the ex and friend. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I learned recently that no gaming is better than bad gaming, which is
Yeah.
hard to accept, but forcing yourself to show up to a game that you're not
Uh,
having a good time in it's no good. It's way
Yeah.
less fun than not having a game at all.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, yeah. Devious says I had one situation where a player had gotten used to the fact that they were a background player due to another GM previous to him, and they sort of came alive when I based the game off of them. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
That's the fun. I imagine that is a really rewarding aspect of GMing to be able to give people a little bit of the spotlight that they may not
Mhm.
be able to experience
Yeah.
on the regular.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I do think it's important to reward the behavior you want to see and not condemn it.
Right.
Because I know that there is definitely a habit for some people, not necessarily in gaming. I'm just thinking of like, if you're the kid who doesn't come down for holidays and you come down to have dinner with everybody, and your mom's like, "Oh, you did decide to join us. You don't want to join ever again."
That's
Right.
right. Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
don't do that to the people who are being, who are doing what you're asking them to do.
Right.
That's right.
Exactly.
Don't hang a bunch of baggage on them because they are there, and
Yes.
I love that. Yeah. Let's see. A GM of mine had a particular talent for splitting the party. The way he did it was to make sure that everyone got equal time and that everyone knew that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the trust
that
thing.
even if they're not in the spotlight, they'll get their turn.
Yep.
I love that. And for players to also take into consideration their role in that, but also to lean into, if someone's made a choice that is dramatic, support that, like engage with it, as I mean, that also can make sure that you're in the minute, in the moment. Yeah.
I find sometimes it can be useful when you're juggling a lot of players to occasionally give players a cue when they're next, just to say, okay, like it's not your turn yet, but it's coming up. So, maybe start thinking about what you're going to do when it does. So that at least keeps them engaged. So it's not like when you turn to them, you're like shocking them out of a deep sleep. They're like, what? You can pivot to them and then be like, okay, now go. And they've had a few minutes to think about what they're doing next, so they hopefully have their next move planned out.
Yeah, that's another reason I like initiative outside of combat as a concept. Like for certain things,
because you know whose turn is next.
Yeah, like skill challenges or other challenge sequences, or even like, all right, I'm just going to split the group 50-50 and this group gets to go first, and then back and forth as we sort of keep track of things.
So do you have different tactics for, okay, so what is the smallest number of players that you generally kind of work with, and what's the largest? I mean, are there tactics kind of in dealing with both of those approaches?
I'm not the right person to ask that question.
They're right, because
like 30 people.
Right, 36.
That was with multiple GMs, but to be, I have run a 12-player table in a traditional RPG once, which was a lot.
That is a lot.
Yeah,
I've also run for one-on-one games, so I'm sort of all over the place.
Yeah. And Steve, how about you? I mean, have you had the same? Or do
you I mean, I've done one-on-one or 2-player games in some cases, and I have done. I don't. Gosh, if I've done a 12-player table, it hasn't been for a really, really long time. I've done. Usually, I try to not hit more than 6. I have done 7 or 8 as a stretch, and much more than that gets really unwieldy. And usually has to, even 7 or 8, I usually have to split things, a fair amount to make it manageable. But you obviously have different approaches when you're focusing on just 1 or 2 players versus a larger group.
Right.
And I think that honestly, anything more than 3 players, you start to see a definite shift in the dynamic as far as that goes. It's usually that point where you start to see the notion of splitting into smaller groups, so that you're again sort of focusing on 1, 2, or 3 storylines, even though they're not characters, as far as that goes.
Yeah, here's something I'm thinking about as well. So in the context of things that we do at conventions, we have people that don't know each other. So your session 0 has to be real quick and right before you play. These are people with varying degrees of experience, and they've had their own homebrew experience. And that maybe they're counting kind of that, this is the way everyone ought to do it. And then you have people who have never played it. It's their very first time, and they're so excited, or they're, whatever that may be. They're putting it through its paces. There's that whole scenario. And I'll tell you this, that if you're a GM for Mutants and Masterminds, I guarantee you that there's going to be a moment in time where you are GMing for strangers. How do you create that trust and that experience in such an accelerated, kind of space, so rich with opportunity for confusion and friction.
It really is a flash pan of building trust.
Yeah.
And it comes down to you more than most times. It comes down to the GM presenting an aura of confidence and not apologizing before the performance is one of my most important rules.
Right.
If the players think that the players think you know what's going on and they think you know the rules, they will put their trust in you.
Yes.
And hope that the other players will, live up to that. That comes down to the introduction of the game, just saying, hi, my name is Alex. I'm going to be your game master today. We're going to be playing Mutants and Masterminds. It's a D20 game, and you'll earn these hero points for these things. Give a brief little rundown of how it all works and sound confident, sound engaged, make a lot of eye contact. And then as the game goes on, make sure you show them, if you're going to be splitting up the party, start off the game with a brief, like, okay, what is, give me an introduction scene for your character and your character. So they see how quickly you move through that scene, those kinds of things.
Oh, yeah.
So they're not as worried about, if we do get split up, is the GM going to ignore me for half this time?
Right.
Oh, I like that.
And I think you can do a really, really shorthand sort of session 0 at the start of a convention game by just giving the players a really quick sense of the feel you're going for. If you're working with an existing IP or property, like you're running a DC game, you can shorthand it a lot by just saying, this is like these comics or this animated show or this movie. Or you can compare it to those things if you're not using an existing property, and you can say, this is sort of a classic comic book style sort of a thing where your heroes are dedicated to saving, protecting life, and to solving things without with the least amount of harm that they can cause, and just really quickly sort of lay down the ground rules so that folks have a gist of things. And then you can remind people during the game if someone strays off book. You can be like, well, that doesn't really sound like something this character would do, and sort of nudge them in the right direction as far as that goes, if they really go wildly off character.
Yeah, and you can really do a great job of setting tone like that too. Like I'll do either, if the game I know is going to have some sensitive content, I'll do like a content warning up front to be like, these are some of the things that might show up. Or if I know the game is going to be a little wackier than people might expect when they signed up, I'll be like, hey, this game's going to be wacky or zany. There's going to be shenanigans.
Right.
If you're looking for a serious villain game, this probably
isn't
it. Right. Yeah, this ain't it, cheap.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like that.
I try to always give folks at least a moment, in the very beginning to say, if you realized you've sat down at the wrong table, no harm, no foul. This is your chance to just go.
Pull the ripcord. Yeah.
Right.
I like that. And I think that is just acknowledging there are going to be some awkward moments and being prepared to sort of to muscle through it and give coaching when necessary, and also the opportunity to say, is this not for you? Let's, this is your time. Now, Claude mentions that he's been talked into a 6-player live stream series.
That sounds fun.
That sounds super fun. I really like that. So talk to me. What do you think about the difference between running a game where it's around the table and you got chips and soda and you're hanging out in someone's home, or live streaming?
Yeah, there's a sort of 7th player involved, and that's the audience.
Yep.
How do you incorporate them? Yeah.
You sort of have to ask your players what they're comfortable with. If it's going to be a true incorporation of the audience, like you want to have the ability for the audience to have an effect on the story, make sure the heroes know that when they're designing their characters, because that will affect sort of how concrete they're going to be about their character's backstory and how serious they really want to take that amount of information, and how upset they might get if something happens from the audience that could disrupt that. And it's building in space as the GM in your adventure notes to be like, okay, so there's a possibility that somebody could spend 10,000 channel points or give us 10 subs, and then something wild happens, and now I have to figure this out. So having a little more, a little less structure, while still having an idea of what's going to happen, because at the end of the day, people tuning in are intending for an entertainment aspect. So
Right.
you don't want to seem like you don't know what's happening, but you want to leave enough room for something that you don't expect to happen.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, I like that. I like that.
Indeed.
Making room for the unexpected, because it's all, it's part of
And-
supporting that other character at the table. Yeah.
Speaking of the unexpected, I think that another really important thing for GMs to bear in mind, and this is also really important in terms of building trust, is to both understand that you're not going to know everything. You are sooner or later going to make a mistake,
Mm-hmm.
and that it's okay to own up to that.
Mm-hmm.
And that you don't have to. You don't have to like cover it up, and you don't have to necessarily fight with the players about it. So far as that goes, I designed the game, and there are players who know Mutants and Masterminds better than me. I'm sure there are, because to be honest, I mean, it's not like I don't play Mutants and Masterminds every day. I don't have all the rules committed to memory.
Right.
And so occasionally I'm going to flub something, either rules wise or setting lore wise. Because again, I didn't create all the setting lore. Lots of authors contributed to that over the course of many years.
Yeah.
And there are literally millions of words, of it. And so every once in a while, your notes aren't going to be complete, or you're just going to slip up and you're going to get something wrong. And the very best you can do is, either if it was a significant thing, say, okay, we'll change it, or we'll do it over, or what have you, or to just say, well, we'll keep that in mind in the future, but this is fine as it was, and we're just going to go with that.
Oh, I like that. Yeah. Alex and I have talked about this in the past. Just like when you've forgotten that skill was there, or that the person, or what the person was maybe holding from one thing to the next, retcon, do the thing and move on. But also I think it's important to set the tone. We're all going to make a mistake here. Like this is meant to be fun, and you're going to forget a thing, or new or old, or the GM as well. And just know that that's okay. And you get to say whoopsies and not get ostracized for it. Yeah.
And to be fair, if Steve gets anything wrong, it's not wrong. It's errata.
That's right. That's right. It becomes canon. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
So mote it be.
Retroactively.
Yeah. And Heresy says, and here I always thought Steve was the walking encyclopedia Mutanica.
Nope. Afraid not.
I like that. Yeah. Not even
I write these things down so I don't have to remember them.
That's the trick.
That's right. That's why they're books committed to the information, so you can read them later. That is so good.
I think dollar for donuts, I probably run more hours.
Say that again, friend.
I think dollar for donuts, I think I probably run more hours of M&M than Steve has.
I have almost no doubt of that.
Yeah, and I think too that very specifically for you two, it is one of those things where sitting down at a convention, or even at any game, and getting into an edge casey weird thing that doesn't, let it go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let it go and have some fun.
Yeah, roll a d20, add a number, check it versus a DC that you make up in your head.
Yep. Sounds good.
Tell the player to roll a dice, look at your notes quizzically, and then make up what happens.
That's right. That's right. Hakuna errata. What a wonderful phrase, says Paul. That is really good. Let's see. Let me take a look. I know that there was a rules question. I mean, that's what this show is for. So I don't want people to say, "Oh, I can't bring up rules like ever." No. That's not what we're saying.
But just keep in mind that I don't have the book open in front of me, so
that's right.
I see one. It's
not know the answer off the top of my head.
Friendly Neighborhood Chicken asks, page 149 of the Deluxe Heroes Handbook, in effect description format states, extras unique to an effect are colored orange. Could you then add black text extras like movable listed under create to concealment? I think so.
Yeah, I think.
I think it depends on the extra.
Yeah. I'm not
Like-
entirely sure the nature of the question. So
Yeah, can
I'm
you have
not
movable
either.
concealment?
I think you're asking, should that extra be orange? And the answer is maybe. I don't know. I'd have to look.
Yeah, I'm used to them being green
yeah.
and black in Hero Lab, or grayed out in Hero Lab if you're not allowed to use them.
There we go. All right. Let's see. What else do we got here? Oh, you know what I've got? Hey, friends, you are watching this. Maybe you're on Facebook. Maybe you're on Twitch. Maybe you're hanging out over on LinkedIn. Wherever you are, there is, I guarantee, a little thumb or a heart. And we want it. We want you to give that to us. And what happens when you select that, you give us that thumbs up, it tells the algorithm that you like us. You really like us. And it then decides, well, this cool kid likes it. I bet I'm going to go ahead and share that with these other cool kids who are similar, with similar tastes. The other thing is when you share the live stream with folks, when you share upcoming episodes, when you invite people to come by sending them a link and say, hey, come check this out, even if it's after the fact. Maybe on YouTube, there, we've got the live chat that you can watch on demand. You can drop a comment in the other chat space and say, hey, that Alex is sure a delight. Or Steve Kenson, he knows everything. Or Troy, I love him. Whatever it is. It doesn't have to be those things, but it could be. But that what that does is it feeds the algorithm, gives them all the positive reinforcement that it needs to then work its machinations and squirrel its way into everybody's lives and broadcast us directly to your homes.
Right.
We need that. And it helps us out a tremendous amount. So do me a favor, just take a moment and like and subscribe and make sure you've hit that bell, because then you get to be, one of the first notified when we go live. And we sometimes do some surprise streams. So you want to be notified when that happens. Let's see what else we have in the chat. I see Daniel's here. Very particular grave robbers, thumbs and hearts only. That's right. Grody. Troy is a normal human and not a planetary threat. Thank you, Devious. Please, everyone, repeat that notion so the algorithm stops persecuting me. Anyway, thank you, friends. We do appreciate the chat. We appreciate your engagement. We love it. We love doing this program, and your support in that way helps us a great deal.
Yes.
Nice. Do you want to messed up Frankensteins? Because that's how you get messed up Frankensteins.
That's how you get hearts with thumbs.
Oops, all thumbs.
Oops, all thumbs. Have a heart. Let's see. Paul says, I have a good authority that Troy did not act as the stunt double for Galactus in that movie, where they portrayed him as an enormous fart cloud. That seems like a perfect role for me.
Yeah, that is terrible stereotyping against the disembodied.
That's right.
And we don't tolerate that sort of thing.
How very dare. How very dare. All right. Okay. So we've talked about building trust. We've talked about sort of the various roles that the GM and the player have, the commitment to sort of that social contract, when to kind of review it and update it and go through that process again. Oh God, that scared me.
Sorry. Yeah, I sent a message out.
No, I love it. I love it. I was just like, what? And I was like, it's very funny. I wish I would have, but good stuff. But yeah, so how do we want to bring this home? What are some other things? Or like, we did talk about like, don't get discouraged and you're going to make a mistake, and how you handle that sets the tone for everybody to make mistakes and that kind of good stuff. Go for it.
I think at the end of the day, it's my number one GM advice is be confident, be consistent, and know that you're in control and you're going to do okay. I mean, you're here to have friends and have a good time. And as long as your friends are having a good time, and as long as you're having a good time, you won. You did the game right.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, exactly. And I think that is the great way of looking at it. Let's see. Some comments are from the Neighborhood Chicken says, thank you. There's a lot to the concept I've looked into. Apparently, Metamorph is a black text extra. So, all right. There you go. And Klutz says, trust falls. Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Or
Yeah.
not.
But Steve, what do
maybe
you
not.
Steve, what do you have to summarize
Yeah.
the trust?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it really does come down to communication. It comes down to being willing to have those conversations, to ask for feedback, to give feedback, to check in with folks. We so often go on unspoken assumptions. A lot of folks have pointed out the examples of we didn't even know this was a problem for ages until something shifted in the group, and we
Mm.
realized that this player wasn't having fun or wasn't feeling heard, or their needs weren't being met. And I think that's because when we just assume and we don't have that communication, that those sorts of things can just go unnoticed. And so it's good to at least offer the opportunities for people to check in. It's up to them obviously to take it. You have to create as good an environment as you can, but
Yeah.
at least make that effort. And I think that you'll find you may find your game has improved in ways that you weren't aware of. Because it's surprising when we have these conversations, the things we find out.
Yeah.
I also think
Yeah,
that you should punish and reward in equal parts. So if you do decide to have a bad thing happen to your party, make sure to have a good thing happen after that.
Yes.
Don't make your game a
yeah.
miserable slog.
That's right. Yeah.
And if you're going to have an NPC betray the party, just be prepared for them to never trust an NPC again.
Ever again. Yes.
That is a fair point. A very fair point.
You get to pull that once as a GM.
Yep. You get one.
So listen. Yeah, that's right. You get one, and then they've been hurt before, and they'll carry that with them into their future encounters. Okay, so here's what's happening. This is we're going to vault into a whole new segment. We've got another half hour or more of Mumamo coming.
What?
I know it's going to be what's in the tank.
50% more Mumamo.
It sure is, and it's the kind of the extended mix, kind of the disco mix. So we'll be letting you two jump in and kind of do the things that you must do to save the day, and then we'll carry on and have conversations about what's in the tank and all kinds of other good stuff. In the meantime, tell me what's happening in the Steve Kenson cinematic universe.
I am working on a book that I cannot speak its name. In order to move things along towards a long-anticipated completion. Alex should be hearing more about that from me soon. And I am working on a bunch of other things that I can't talk about because they haven't been announced yet. I'm right now in the post-Gen Con phase because we're so close to Gen Con now, where it's gravity, is drawing us in so quickly that I have sort of my work has slingshotted past Gen Con and is now in another phase of time that I can't tell you about from here.
That's right. You see into the future. You're light years ahead.
It is. I have light years ahead.
Yeah. Alex Thomas, what have you got cooking?
Steve is ahead. I am the crash test dummy hurtling towards Gen Con, trying to finish stuff before I leave for that.
You got some things falling off the spaceship. You got
parts are flying off.
As long as I keep my wig on, it'll be fine.
Right.
But we do have an actual play coming up on July 20th.
Yes,
it's our first actual play for the Atomic Think Tank membership. So there are still 3 seats left. Go over and vote on which game you want to play and pick out your characters and come hang out with me. It's going to be a good time.
It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll be live streaming it. And that is for folks who are members. Now, if you were a member and you're like, oh yeah, I got to do that. Well, yeah, you do. Got to head over there. We'll have a little commercial break where we'll talk more about some of the benefits and bonuses of being a part of the membership, but it's only $8 a month.
Mm-hmm.
And you get all the good stuff.
Speaking of the membership, the next M&M Mix-Up poll is coming up soon, and this week, right? This Wednesday?
That's right. It's coming out on the 10th. Yeah,
that's coming up. I put together that poll, so you get to decide what adventure outline I'm going to write for you. So go check that out.
That's right. And then on the 15th, another couple stat blocks drop from the foreign exchange students.
Yeah, from the Hero High Exchange students. Yep.
That's right. That's right.
Then
And
the 17th, we have a dev chat. And
I think we might move that. I didn't actually put it in the thing because I thought we were going to move the Wednesday around a little bit to help with scheduling and all that. But we can sort that out. But there is a dev chat in the offing. Might be a Thursday. Yeah,
might be
exactly. And then where in the tank do we find the actual play vote? You know what? We will provide links here momentarily. But if you are a member, you'll find it in the membership area. It's listed there in the. I believe it's the. I'll drop a link. But so I think with that we might be done for this. Any final words or things you'd like to share with folks before we jump into what's in the tank?
Just if you're planning on coming to Gen Con, take a look at the games I'm running, and if I've got spots open, you can come hang out.
Yeah,
you know, and even if I don't have spots open, stop by. You might be able to get in.
That's right. Alex always has room for another. But also, I think that it might be fun if we're all hanging out there. Maybe we get a little group together. We just sit and find a corner and talk. So if you're going to go make yourself known, it would be a joy to hang out with you. Absolutely. Yeah. Fantastic. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much. I'm going to let you go while we transition into what's in the tank. Whom's in the tank, as one Claude says. But thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful rest of your week, and we'll see you next Moo Mammo.
See you, everybody.
See you on Monday.
Wow. Now it's this. Enjoy. Hold on one second. What a beautiful transition.
Ding, 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 ding. Can you hear me?
I can, yeah. You sound great. Hey, Chad, can you hear our friend?
Can everyone hear me in chat?
Yeah, can you? Can you do? And now
I hope so. And now this.
Devious, thank you for joining again for this wonderful part of the program, What's in the Tank? And this is where we get to actually talk about all the amazing things going down in the tank. And of course, by tank, I mean the Atomic Think Tank, which is Green Ronin's sort of community platform. Now, we talk about more than just Mutants Masterminds, but there is a lot of great stuff that goes on for Mutants Masterminds, and that's what this aspect of Moo Mammo is all about. So what have we got to share? What's in the tank?
Well, I would like to go over just a couple of thank yous for a couple of people who put in some wonderful articles and characters. Paul Rua did a review of Greg Hatcher's Dr. Fix-It, the collected stories. Definitely worth a read. Pins and Needles was also an article in there. And didn't list who said to put that in. No, where is my screen for that? Anyway, Pins and Needles with Shisk is basically like a race of people. And also Paul Rua put in the Cutaway, a new perspective for your game. So Paul, double good on Paul.
Paul, I just got to say real quick before we move off of the conversation, Paul is just a delight. Paul Rua is so fun to talk to. really engaged, a lot of fun, and it I said this before, when people are doing that thing, when they're just so authentically engaging with folks, it changes we get more people participating. It's infectious, in the best way possible. So yeah, I'm thank you, Paul, for that. You get a little thumbs up from me as well.
And I also very much appreciate when I do put an article in, Paul and William Lang and Squire, and a lot of people are giving really good feedback on their thoughts. And I think that's very, very important for me as a writer, help me get better, help me expand my thinking on things I put forward. And, check me. If you don't think I'm right, let me know. I mean, I'll get in there. We'll talk about it. We'll hash it out. We'll get down to the bottom of it, no matter what.
Yeah, I dig that quite a bit, and I think that it just makes the entire experience. That's what it's a think tank. It literally is a space to explore and interrogate ideas, and that's if you can do that in a way
Absolutely.
that doesn't sort of throw you out with like if I make a mistake or say something weird or whatever, rather than sort of flush them down the toilet, but to have the dialogue and sort of
Yeah.
bridge the gaps and fill in the deltas. I love that.
William Lang said, Paul is a good guy. He's a swell fella. He is. Absolutely.
He is indeed.
100%. But you too, William. You are also a swell fella.
Absolutely. And William, you
We
are correct.
appreciate
It
that.
is the world's only think tank.
Exactly.
And I don't know why they don't have any others, but
Well,
I'm
there
fine
are
with it.
more think tanks, but they're not atomic.
That is
They're
true. That is true. And not a lot of thinking, just a lot of tanks, basically.
Yeah, they're just
empty tanks.
Like septic mainly. So
yeah. So did you had another thumbs up to give, another shout out?
Well, I also wanted to thank everybody who was putting in their wonderful files in the AEGIS files. Basically,
yes.
we've got a number of files in there. We have the Forecast Expo and the Trials and Tribulations of G-Tech, both part 1 and part 2. We have Pronghorn, and I really hope, Steinbrewer, please let me know if I don't pronounce this correctly. Touque, Touque.
Is it Touque?
Touque or Touque? Or
is it a house?
It's a Canadian thing.
Is it? Yeah, a toque is a hat.
Yeah, a toque? Is it Touque or Touque?
I believe it. I believe it's Touque. I think you toque when you're wearing your toque.
Oh, there you go. But he also put in the Maple Menace. We also have the Fortune 5 and the Henchman Underground. I'm just excited to see all the activity in the AEGIS files. I want you to, put more stuff in. And definitely, you know what? Like I said it last time, and I'll say it again. Vehicles are welcome. HQs as well. If you've got some stats for an HQ, if you have maps, even, but if you've got the stats for it, maybe a nice history behind it, and maybe a nice, just a basic description of it. I'd love to see it in the think tank.
Hey, talk to me real quick about how are you? How would you present a vehicle? How would you present an HQ? I love the concept, but what are some, just to kind of wet the whistle a bit?
Well, basically, I mean, Hero Lab helps you make that type of file as well, and you can copy a stat block. And once you have the stat block, you can copy it directly into an AEGIS file link. So if you already have a vehicle that you've made, definitely put it in there. I'd love to see it. I mean, if your character if you have the Weasel and he has the Weasel Jet and the Weasel Mobile and the Weasel Cycle and the Weasel Submarine, I would love to see that. Show me those Weasel vehicles there.
Yeah, absolutely. And so then are you looking for, or what your advice, because you are a prolific article writer, really phenomenal pieces on just about every aspect you can imagine. When it comes to vehicles and HQs, is there something that people should kind of what kind of mindset should they have? Is there considerations that might be a little different than, say, a hero or a villain?
Well, basically for a vehicle, I mean, one of the things with Mutants and Masterminds, if you have PL10, a lot of them don't need vehicles because they have a good enough flight, or they have a good enough this or good enough that. But if you're doing more of a Batman type, you've got to get from point A to point B, and you're not going to be able to, get to that point without it. Also, a team vehicle, something like the Avengers Quinjet, is responsible for taking, characters from point A to point B as quickly as possible. Not everybody's going to be able to fly that fast. I'm thinking about Justice League. They all just basically Green Lantern makes a platform, and if he goes into space, he makes a covered platform. He doesn't need that, but I like how they break it down in the Avengers. They have to have that Quinjet to get from point A to point B. So having a team vehicle is great. I've got Paul Rua, got to convert them from 2E to 3E. Yes, I welcome those. Want to see that. There is also the idea of, if you're going to a different environment, you're going to have a way to get there, such as deep space, such as the undersea kingdom of blah de blah. You have to get there, and the safest way to do that is within a vehicle. So you can have entire adventures based in a vehicle. Witness Millennium Falcon, Star Wars. They had a good portion of their adventure inside the vehicle. Everything happened, with the star fights and things like that. There's a lot that can happen in a vehicle, and a lot that can happen in HQ for that matter.
I love that. I love that. So some other articles or submissions to the tank that you want to cover?
I put in a couple of articles. I did assembling your RPG dream team, recognizing a good fit and red flags, basically ways that you can, when you hold a session 0, things you can look out for and hopefully correct if it gets to the point that needs correction. Also, there's a article I put in called Fostering Trust, the Keystone of a Successful RPG Group, based upon, the fact that we were doing this particular memo. And also put in an article on using 3d6 instead of a d20 in Mutants Masterminds. It did not get as much fervent protest as I thought it would. I thought, you can't do that. Well, I did it. But
so you expect a little friction around that?
Yeah, a little bit, but it's fine. People, I love the fact that everybody's open-minded, and a lot of considerations have to go into dynamically changing the game. But instead of fervent protests, I got people who, oh, cool. Did you also think of this? Which is fantastic. I love the community and the think tank, how supportive they are and how thoughtful they are. And the William Lang 3D is a great concept, and I know they used it for Age. So there you go.
So talk to me about that. Now, what was your goal with the 3D6? Was it to sort of lean into a kind of Age approach to things, or like how did you thread that needle?
The reason I went with 3D6 is because when you are rolling a D20, every single result is a 5% chance. And so basically it swings wild. Another thing is, even though you have in Mutants Masterminds, you double every level, that's not the case when it comes to the die roll. It will amplify the damage only when you make 5 in increments of 5 above. If you do it on a 3d6, basically, you're going to have the more common parameter of it getting an exact roll, usually in the middle, but sometimes it will lean out, and only in extreme cases will you get a 3 or an 18. And if you do that and you make the increments of success every 2 levels instead, that means that your strength being 1 level higher has a much greater impact when it comes to punching somebody and them trying to resist it, or your skill being that much higher has that much more impact. Now, it does mean that if there is a large disparity in power level, then yeah, you are going to seriously outclass anybody, say 2 levels below you. So you do have to watch that as a game master, but you can almost forego minion rules because you so far outclass minions. But that, I haven't experimented with that yet. Just an idea, just thinking about it. But of course, this is just an alternate house rule, something maybe to try out or think about. It's really good, especially for lower level games, I have found, so that their stats can make a greater impact on their rolls.
I love that. I think it's great, and it's 100% what the think tank is there for sure. Hey, I want to remind everybody, all of the articles, or the articles and submissions are linked in our show notes. And so you'll find those on demand on YouTube, and then I am updating right now the Facebook post. So you'll see we'll update those retroactively. Facebook is a real piece of work sometimes, so we're not going to do it right now. Okay, so I
And
thank
right
you,
now,
RCR. Yeah, go
just
ahead.
by the way, I'm throwing in the articles that were done by Paul Rua and the person who wrote Pins and Needles, Shisk. I deeply apologize for not knowing, and I trying to scramble to find the name. I'm so sorry. And of course, Steinbrewer for the wonderful AEGIS files he's putting in.
Yeah. Also, shout out to Steinbrewer. So we have a policy at in the think tank that we're not incorporating AI art, but we're also not going to retroactively go punish everybody who has done that, because that rule wasn't clarified and clear. But it is now, and Steinbrewer went back and replaced all the AI art with commissioned art, and that's pretty awesome.
Yes. And by the way, sorry about the delay. The writer of Pens and Needles Shisk was John Tierney. John Tierney, thank you very much for doing the Pens and Needles Shisk article. Also, for the people putting in the AEGIS files. Loading. Paul Rua was the Forecast Expo and the Trials and Tribulations of Check, both part 1 and 2. And of course, Pronghorn and Touque.
Touque. Yeah, Touque. I believe that's how you say it. It's like a hat.
Steinbrewer did that. And
you do say
John
Touque.
Tierney. Touque. Also, John Tierney did Pens and Needles Shisk in the AEGIS files as well as a character. And just great work, guys. Thank you so much. And of course, Maple Menace, who's just a gun-toting, scary person in armor who protects maple trees, I think. Steinbrewer put in that, as well as Factor 5. Steinbrewer is doing some great work on his St. Lawrence world, and I would love to see that collected into a source book, into a M&M Superlink product. That would be fantastic to see. If you need any help, let me know.
I love this. I'm reading some of the comments here. Paul Ruiz says, "I got something brewing, vehicles and HQs, but it's a pretty big project with lots of stat blocks. Cool.
Woo-hoo.
Got a converter from 2E to 3E. Very cool. Yeah, that's the perfect place for that kind of work. Some good soup says, and maybe sometimes you just want to give your Kappa artillerist a tank.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. HQ for non-Americans. That's right. HQ says Cloud. I like to say his name, Cloud. Let's see. Paul mentioned Steinbrewer replacing AI art with the commissioned artwork, which is fantastic. Well, that's also I'm reading all this. You know what? Everybody's so great too. Our community is pretty tight and pretty complimentary, but also just a lot of fun. What else do we have in the tank?
Well, one of the things that I have recently completed was the badges for the number of articles put into the tank.
That's right.
And
are we going to add those to the badgerium, or are we going to add them to people because we don't want people to misrepresent themselves?
Well, we want to basically award it to people once they have that number. We don't want people to be able to just add them. So it's going to be something that, it's something that's awarded basically for your contributions. So we're going to be handing them out, and I'd like to hand out some right this very minute.
Hey, let's do it.
I need a little Christmas right this very minute.
Right this very minute.
Do you happen to have the files I sent to you in a way that you can show them?
I do. I do.
Joy!
I do. Let's see. How can I do this? I don't want to show all of my chat, so I'm going to hang on one moment. I've got a solution. Get out of here.
Excellent.
Okay. And then so while I'm getting those things ready, why don't you share a bit of what you're thinking, what our discussions have been and kind of why we're doing this.
Absolutely. Well, we wanted to basically show kind of a reward, kind of an attaboy for putting articles in the tank and contributing to the community. So we decided to come up with these badges, and the badges are going to be awarded on the number of articles that you put in. And we tried to emulate, or I tried to emulate, the progression that you normally get from the measurement table. So the rewards will be for 1 article, your first article, 3 articles, 5 articles, 10 articles, 25 articles, and 50 articles. When we get the articles or the badges up, I'll be able to talk a little bit more about them and what they are.
Yeah, let me see how I want to do this. Because of the way that we're set up, you are not a real camera. Because we're beaming you in from the planet you live on. Oh, whoops, sorry.
You kind of completely faded out there on that.
Alien out of the bag.
It sounds like you're
that?
talking through a fan down a long tunnel.
I'm
sure it's just your internet connection for the day.
That was the fan.
Oh, well,
it was the fan cam.
The fan cam, that's what it is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I noticed that, and my apologies. But the internet will do what the internet does. I am trying to figure out how we want to do this. Hold on 1 second, because I want people to see it, them rather. And let's see, window. Let's see what happens. Hey, there we go.
There we go. All right. Well, it looks like it put, first of all, I want to draw your attention to the top middle. That is the first one. That is the scribe badge for contributing your first article to the Freedom City Library. And the following people have gotten this badge. And if, by the way, I mention you get a higher badge, you get the lower badges as well. But the following
you'll
people
retroactively grant those.
Exactly. We have the following people getting those. If I can focus my eyes: The Void Watching, Brenton Hudson, Jacob Gross, Tony Jones, Gerald Shrimshire, Chow Souza, love that name, Michael Matsuzuka, I think I pronounced Matsuzuka. Yes, Matsuzaka. I apologize humbly. And John Tierney, and some guy I don't know, Alex Thomas. Have you ever heard of this guy?
Alex, Tom. I think that was somebody who submitted that character to the
that one guy who did that
AEGIS
one
Files?
thing. I think I'm not really sure.
Vaguely familiar, anyway.
Vaguely familiar, but and I've got to apologize. The first 3 names I gave you, Void Watching, Brendan Hudson, Jacob Gross, actually have 3 articles in the think tank. So my bad. But also people who have 3 to 4 articles. We have William Lang with 4 articles and Steinbrewer with 4 articles.
Nice.
Exceeding 5 in the range from 5 to 9. We have Chris Davies with 6 articles and Big Nate with 6 articles as well.
Hey, well done, you two. Great.
Just getting to the 10 spot. Just got it into the wire. Paul Rua.
All right.
10 articles. Love you, Paul. Keep going. Keep doing the thing. Also, this guy, I don't know if you're familiar with him or know his name. Steve Kingsong.
I am not familiar.
I don't know how to pronounce that.
No.
He has 36 in there. So
36, of course.
36.
That's great.
So
yeah,
there you go.
I love that.
So anyway, I am going to be
how many have you done, sir?
I've done a few. Just
a
couple.
You want to tell us the number?
Not really, because I don't like tooting my own horn. I leave that to you.
I am the tutor of the horns. I'm going to where did I see that information?
No, the sound effect. The sound effect.
Oh yes. Well, I was going to save that for your birthday.
But if you're tooting my horn, you got to do the sound effect. There you go. That was just fantastic. Thank you.
Really,
was it good for
climactic.
You? It was good for me.
Yes, absolutely. So how many articles have you done, you nerd?
I've done 55.
55 articles. Dude.
I tried to also take out the ones where I was saying, this person won this award and da-da-da. So I made sure not to.
I noted that you left out none of my articles made it in. I didn't get any.
Well, if it was something where we were acknowledging someone's, I didn't want to. Yeah.
No,
stuff.
I'm absolutely kidding. I'm absolutely kidding.
But
But that is 55 articles,
yes.
and here's the thing too: the articles are not just dashed off trash reads. They're in-depth discussion and opportunities to reflect on aspects of the game, whether that's kind of changing it a bit, making it yours, working with other people. It's just incredible. And you should be really proud. And I am very proud that you have brought your expertise to the tank, because I think it is 100% setting the tone and getting people really engaged. So, I mean, you deserve more than a badge. And so, I'll give you 2 badges.
but my badge is shiny, so
Yeah, that's very true. But
all
I
I
think,
need, shiny.
chat, we got to figure something out, when the person who is giving awards out, exceeds in their own category. And we know that Devious is very reluctant to, toot his own horn, and maybe something a little better than. So if you've got a thought, let's collude. Send me a private message and we'll see what we can do. Something special.
I would like
for
a
Devious.
virtual hammock. A virtual hammock so my virtual self can relax.
You know what I
And-
would like to give you? A clown sandwich.
Oh, there you go. Clown sandwich. I can just taste the balloon animal now. Mwah, mwah.
Right? Yummy,
Absolutely.
yummy.
It's so
Um,
chewy.
You do phenomenal work. It's really just a joy, and you really embody the spirit of what we're trying to accomplish in the tank, and also just the fact that here you are, also stepping in to add a little extra, few minutes to the end of Mumamo. All of that is just great, and you do it because you love it, and that's phenomenal.
I love the tank. I want it to fly.
Yeah, me too.
I remember
do
when
love it.
I came on board, you're like, okay, we're going to build this plane as we fly it.
I really
I'm
did.
riveting as fast as I can.
That's right. That's right. Gerald Scrimshire mentioned maybe a Lifetime Achievement Award.
Oh,
Yeah, but I mean, that sort of feels a little too in memoriam.
A lifetime
you're
supply
only-
of butter, I think, would be
Of
good.
butter?
Yeah, just butter.
Yes.
I want to be able
rich,
to like melt it and just bathe in it. That's
rich creamery butter. Yeah.
exactly. Wisconsin, preferably, I'm thinking.
Yeah. Okay, sure.
So,
absolutely.
Mhm.
That's a different kind of butter.
There you go.
Commander. Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll see what we can do about the butter thing. I was, maybe what we can do is a butter sculpture of you.
I would like a statue made of me in lint.
A lint statue
A lint statue made of me.
and
Absolutely.
enough butter to bathe in is what you're telling me.
Exactly. That's
Okay.
That's the only true reward for
Both
my,
things are just mildly stomach turning.
for my heinous crimes. I mean, contributions.
Your heinous crime of contributing great work and doing good stuff. So, well, I don't know that we can make good on the butter thing. I don't know where you even get lint, because I am a disembodied sort. But Gerald says that they can contribute to the. I like that. Doc Void, you're okay, my friend. Also, I do want to say, Doc Void, you are a great. It's great to interact with you as well on the think tank, and you're in the mix, and I appreciate it a great deal.
One other
yes,
thing
please.
I wanted to mention is the next round of badges to come up are going to be for the AEGIS Files. So I'm sorry I didn't get those done quite yet, but if you're out there thinking, hey, I wasn't mentioned, even though I put a lot of stuff in the AEGIS Files, it's a coming. I'm making it. I'm getting that together. I appreciate everyone who's put stuff into the AEGIS Files so much. I will have badges for you to hand out. Thank you so much for all your contributions.
Absolutely. And we've got other badges that are cooking in the background as well. Recognition for just contributions and just who you are, in the think tank. And in addition, I want to remind everybody, there's also referral badges. So if you bring in some friends, maybe you got some friends, some holdouts. They're out there at some way station, Mutants Mastermind space that haven't joined, do encourage them to do so. And by doing that, you could become... you could receive a recognition for that in multiple ways, not the least of which, let's say if you do it for the membership, and you get people to sign up, there could be some kickback in your future. And by kickback, I mean a kick to the head. No, I'm kidding. Some, remuneration.
Boot to the head. Yeah, yeah. Sorry.
All right. So what else do we have cooking? Is there other things to mention?
I think we've gone over the articles, the new characters in AEGIS Files. We've
Mhm.
handed out the awards, and thank you
Mhm.
so much for everyone who's contributed those articles. Keep them coming. Get those badges up.
That's right.
You want the better badges? Trust me, because with that comes wonderful things like a virtual croissant. Sorry,
A virtual croissant.
a
Wow.
virtual croissant. I
Maybe a
will send you
touque.
personally, mentally, perhaps a touque. I've got to
Yeah.
figure out what that is and if my wife can knit one, and then maybe.
Oh, certainly.
Possibly.
Also, yeah, a mental croissant, kind of a hero point of bread.
Yes, exactly.
I like that a lot.
That is from the heart. It's a hero point of bread.
It's from the heart. Exactly.
That's right.
Well, that's very, very sweet. And also, what was I going to say? I was going to say something amazing. Oh, I want to remind everybody that it's not like Mutants and Masterminds, of course, is a cornerstone title for Green Ronin, but the think tank
And-
also has all of our age games represented. That has opportunities for you. Like, let's say maybe you were a part of our freebooter program. We are ramping that one back up, and you can join and help us map out the future for that. Perhaps you are somebody who really wants to dive into that $8 membership and have conversations and connect with the developers. It's that plus so much more. And we have got some things that are coming down the pike, and I'm pretty stoked about it. But one of those things is we want to do, think of them as sort of, instead of TED Talks, they're Tank Talks, where we are bringing people to a live space, having a discussion, facilitating dialogue around a particular issue. And maybe that's how to play Cthulhu Awakens. Maybe that's the upcoming second edition of the Engine magazine, which is powered by the Adventure Game Engine magazine, and it's sourced, got a bunch of different articles and things. The number 2 is coming out here very shortly. But yeah, so we've got all of those things coming, and maybe, just maybe, you're sitting on an expertise. You are welcome to reach out to me and say, hey, Troy, I would love to have a tank talk, and I want it to be about this. And we'll explore it together and get it done. Final thing specific to Mutants and Masterminds, there's nothing that the M&M community loves more than to create your characters, your heroes, your personal heroes that you take from game to game, that you spend time investing in their backstory, in their power set. You create these well-rounded heroes that really have some gravitas in the story department. They really are an extension of sort of you as a person. And we do the intermittent program, the drafting table. And basically we sit down, you and I, and we talk for as long as we need to talk about your character's development, your hero. And it could be, we could talk about several different developments or characters, your heroes you've developed, or maybe you want to zero in on one particular hero. And the conversations that we've had to date have been very moving and very interesting, a very in-depth look into how to build a hero for Mutants and Masterminds, which was really the original intent, but that it developed into something really poignant and it really ends up showing a bit about the person who's building that hero. And so if you want to sit down and have a chat to let people know a bit about your hero, this is your opportunity to do that. Make sure you send me a note in the think tank saying, hey, I'd love to do this. I know that there's some folks who have expressed interest in the past. I just want to rekindle that memory. And I love this. Gerald. Okay, I'm going to amend that request, that call to action, by saying maybe you're a GM who's who wants to reflect on a campaign that you have, whether it's long-term or short-term or just something you found very rewarding. And because the reality is the TTRPG space is about gaming, but it's more than that. And if you really give yourself to the process and you develop an experience for people that they enjoy. You, as a player, you really get into developing your hero. It's cathartic. It's counseling. It's very you come away a different person, and it may feel or sound silly to folks who don't get it, but people that do, I mean, the reason people really enjoy TTRPGs is because you do get to experience things, maybe walk through things that you get to sort out. It's part therapy, it's part theater, it's part performance, it's part observing, and it's pretty remarkable. So if you are somebody who has you are a GM and you've got a campaign you've created and you really want to talk about it because you're really proud, this is your opportunity. This is really all about you. So developed a hero, you've got a character you want to talk about, or you've got a campaign. Thank you, Gerald, for that idea. For that, you get a big fat hero point. A really phenomenal idea. Thank you. And it's so weird that we hadn't thought about it until now, which is why we love community, because it just takes us in new directions and, takes our ideas and amplifies them, makes them better. Right, Devious?
Absolutely.
All right. So listen, I think that we're about done. You friends, you got 32 extra minutes of Moom ammo. And honestly, for the price of the hour, I mean, that's a bargain.
I mean, it was only 10% more expensive for you than
That's right.
Wait, we still charge nothing for that. So
we do
extra.
take a bit of your soul.
Wait, well, yeah.
Just a bit.
That'll
pinch.
Barely buy coffee nowadays, though.
Truth. Very true.
Souls are a glut. Souls are a glut.
That's right. Hey, Devious, thank you for joining me for this little cap of the Moom ammo. I want to say to chat, as always, you're just a remarkable bunch of miscreants causing all the kinds of the best trouble. And I encourage folks who are watching on demand to pay close attention to what's going on in chat, because in addition to just being troublemakers, they're also sharing lots of great stuff. Of course, our thanks to Alex and Steve for hanging out for an hour, and Devious will be doing this on the regular basis, and we're gonna bring Touque. Touque is the Brobarian, which is not the brother librarian, as I once thought. It's the barbarian. So he's a barbarian, but he's your bro. So
Exactly.
He'll be on to talk about all things Valiant and all the stuff going on there, which is just another aspect of Powered by Mutants and Masterminds, and another opportunity for us to just share all the great stuff happening in that space.
Every time I hear Touque the Brobarian, I just start thinking of like a Conan-like figure going like, "I'm gonna rage, bro. I'm gonna rage. Look out, bro." Sorry.
Yeah, just going, bruh. All right, friends. I think, with that, this might be the end of the program. Have a great rest of your week. Thank you again for hanging out with us. Got an idea, got a question, got a comment, and you want to share it directly, you can send a note to letsplay@greenronin.com or head on over to atomicthinktank.com and share to your heart's content. In the meantime, I'm Ben Troy, your disembodied only pal, and then Devious Hearts as well.
Bye-bye.
We'll see you next fun day. Goodbye.